Welcome to another video, and we are talking about this lens. It's Fujifilm's 90mm f2.0, but before we start, I just want to say that this is not your regular review. It's more like a reflection of all the lenses I own. I have 7 lenses and I want to scale down to only 4. I thought good and long and hard on my photography break about all my gear, and I want to scale down quite a bit. I want to go from 7 lenses to owning only 4 lenses, because if we have too much gear, that can sometimes be more of an obstacle to creativity where it should really be enhancing it. It's 90mm, that's 135mm equivalent on a full frame. It's f2.0, so it's quite fast, has a very nice creamy blurry background and all that good stuff right there. It is quite old. I think it's from... Since this is more of a specialty lens, I think it's harder to get or to come by on the second-hand market. That's where I always try to get my lenses if I can. There's a funny story about why I got this lens a bit later in the video. Appeared on the market in 2015, weighing a whopping 540 grams. And despite being on a diet, it hasn't managed to lose any weight since then, so it's still this big. The price is $949 US, so it's expensive. Now let's talk pros and cons. And the sharpness of this lens is just ridiculous. It is outstanding, and it also has excellent color rendering and contrast. It gives you that lovely creamy background blur or bokeh, and has very good build quality with weather resistance, as you would expect. All in all, it's all very impressive. Now the cons, because it's not all gold with this lens. It is a specialty lens for sure at 90mm, and it's very expensive, like I mentioned. So getting this just in case would be hit or miss, to be quite honest with you. And to me, it was a big hit, but still, I'm not sure if this will remain in the arsenal, because it is quite big and bulky, and I like to keep my gear as small and minimal as possible. That makes it more likely for me to actually bring with me, and that's a very good point right there. There is also no OIS on this lens, or image stabilization, and that's the thing with zoom lenses. As a rule of thumb, you should double the shutter speed compared to the focal range to get a sharp image, depending on the situation, of course. And it feels somewhat top heavy and slightly unbalanced on my X-T5, even with the camera grip I always have on my camera. And here is the story why I got this lens. I used to own the 50-140 f2.8, but I got rid of it because it was just too big for the way I do my street photography, and I never brought it with me. I used it for some product shots, etc., but yeah, it was just sitting there. But when we got to Tokyo on our year of travel, I had in my budget the idea I would get a Fujifilm X106 in Tokyo in Fujifilm land. But no, they did not have that camera, and I was somewhat bummed out, so I thought, okay, I'm going to make my X-T5 into a X106. So I got the 27mm f2.8, and I had more money to spend, so I got this one as well, and I still had money to spare for one coffee, maybe. Yeah, but I missed having that extra reach when I was out doing street photography, and that's the beauty with this one. You can be much more stealthy, and on the X-T5 you can still crop in a little bit as well. So you have, like, it's a zoom within a zoom. I guess we can say that. And in combination with my 27mm, I think that's a great combo. So if you want to see a perfect street photography lens combo video in the future, you can let me know down in the comments. Now, despite this being big and bulky, and after spending some time with it, I've got some fantastic images, and the ergonomics are quite nice as well. So it handles very well, despite feeling a bit top heavy on my X-T5. On the X-H2S, it's just a perfect match. So I don't really mind, since I now enjoy using this more and more, especially for night street photography for some reason. But if you have a high megapixel camera like the X-T5, that's 40 megapixels, you can crop in, you have so much flexibility there, and you can be really stealthy. So that's a very good reason to get this, in addition to your whatever go-to lens in street photography. That is probably a wide angle if you are anything like me. So as it stands now, I'm still undecided, but this is probably the lens that I'm most sure I'll keep, because yeah, this and one wider angle for sure. It's like 99% sure, and 99% sure, that's pretty sure. So who is this lens for? And this is not for beginners, because 90mm or 135 in full frame language is a bit difficult to, or tricky to get around. So you have to have some experience and you have to know what you're looking for. I'm still getting used to it, so I'm still learning. There's a learning curve there, even for me. And I've done street photography for many years, mostly with a wider angle. So if you're a street photographer that has spent a lot of time with your prime, that you know very well how to get good results, and you want to grow as a street photographer, I would say that this is a very good choice for you. You will have a lot of fun with it. But then again, if you want a zoom and if you want to have more versatility, probably the 50-140 is a better option for you. But I like primes, so this is better for me since it's also smaller. And I don't mind working with a fixed 90mm. It's fair to say that this is more like an expansion to your already functional kit, and it's a very expensive expansion as well. You can find the links to this lens down in the description if you want to check it out. I would say it's also a very good portrait lens if you're in that genre of photography, maybe even product photography, but that's not something I do a lot of anymore. So there's that. Over to alternatives to this lens, and there aren't that many, to be quite honest with you. The few I found was first a Viltrox 75mm. I think that's 112 roughly in full frame terms. It's also faster at f1.2 and it is cheaper. Then you have the new 56 f1.2mm from Fujifilm. That's 85mm equivalent. So it's more like a portrait lens and it doesn't really come that close to this focal range. So not a lot of alternatives for you out there, and I wouldn't really compromise going down on focal range. If you want a 90mm or 135 in full frame language, you want this lens. It is a very good choice if you know that's what you want. And if you like this video, you should check out this one after. It's an amazing video if you want to see how I work out in the field. It's from Japan, the street photography mecca out there in the world. I think every street photographer out there that hasn't been to Japan wants to go to Japan, so that's a good watch. Next video in this series will be this lens right here. That's the 27mm I told you about earlier. It's the pancake lens, the one I got to make my X-T5 into an X106, since I couldn't get it because Fujifilm didn't have, or they didn't make enough cameras for some stupid reason, but I'm very happy about it because I got a much better kit. If you want to see that, you can click subscribe, and the real subscribe, that is the bell icon, so you'll get a notification, which is a good idea for when I have new videos. All right, that's it for now. See you in the next video. Bye bye.